So you may have been told by people online that the best way to get your music on playlists is to just use a generic template and send as many DMs to people who own a playlist, in the hopes that one will reply and your song will blow up once it gets added to a playlist. However, as a playlist owner who gets about 5 to 10 DMs per day, let me tell you, these messages do not work. And this isn't even me being lazy and not checking the messages. Trust me, I do. But the problem is actually with the message itself. It comes down to how they're worded, where they're sent to, and many other factors. But in this video today, I will show you what messages actually capture attention and how to actually get your messages seen so that you can get added to as many playlists as possible. So if you're new here, my name is Sage and I run an electronic music network and record label with over 300,000 followers across platforms. And I've helped tracks reach millions of listeners online. Over the last few years, I've studied what actually makes music blow up and what makes it actually spread. Why some tracks and artists actually blow up, while others with just as much talent never get seen. And on this channel, I break down the real online strategies that you should be using, from social media growth to music marketing to building an audience around your sound. So if you're an artist, producer, or DJ trying to grow your career, you're in the right place. But anyway, let's get into the video. So without a doubt, getting on a Spotify playlist is one of the best ways to grow your music online. You're getting consistent streams every day from being featured on a playlist. And if you're featured on multiple, your streams are almost guaranteed to be doing well every single day, without doing any marketing. However, the hardest part is actually getting on these playlists. Who even owns them? Who do you reach out to? And what do you say? Well, let's have a look at the ways you can get on these playlists. So number one is actually to work with a record label. I'll expand on this a bit more later, but basically, good record labels are going to have deals in place with Apple and Spotify to pitch to playlists. Number two, which is a bit more controversial, is to pay to get on these playlists. Now, this is one I don't actually recommend, but I guess it can be kind of a good idea if you do have a bit of money to spend. And number three is to cold outreach. Cold outreach basically means to send messages via DM or email to these playlist owners. Now, I'm going to briefly touch on number one and number two, but number three with cold outreach is the main way that we're going to be able to get our songs onto these playlists. But I did just want to briefly touch on them. So for number one, working with a record label can be a really good option if you choose the right record label, because there's a lot of bad ones out there, but if you get the right one, it's going to be really good and going to help you get on lots of playlists. So basically, if you sign with a good record label, a lot of them will have good distributors that they work with, and the distributors will pitch these songs to Spotify and Apple themselves. Now, if the editors like your track, they're probably going to be putting it on one of their big playlists, but it really just depends on how good your song is. It's probably not going to get on if your song isn't too great. Now, if you work with even bigger record labels, a lot of them will have deals with Spotify and Apple directly, and you're almost guaranteed to get on a playlist. Like one of the big ones, I'm talking Dance XL on Apple, one of the other big ones on Spotify. However, I didn't really want to go into this option too much because I know how hard it is to get signed by these big record labels. Even just a medium-sized indie label that's going to be able to do all this work for you, it's quite hard to get signed with a really decent one who's going to pitch to Spotify and Apple. But this brings us on to option two as another option. I do not like this option whatsoever. It's to pay to get on playlists. I really dislike this as I think there's a big problem with all of these services online. And the main thing is because the quality of these playlists are going to be terrible. If playlists are just accepting random songs for a fee, chances are these playlists are going to be spammed with random terrible songs who've just paid to try and promote their music. And even if your song is good, it's going to get joined in with these bad songs. People are going to stop listening to the playlist as much, and it's really just a lose-lose. Combine this with the fact that most of these services actually just use listener bots as well. I just think the method is a bad idea. And in addition, I think it's terrible for the long term of the streaming of your song, because you're going to have to pay to stay on these playlists. Like, you're going to get taken off them eventually if you don't keep paying, and that's going to get expensive. Now, although it's a lot harder, getting on a playlist organically makes so much more sense for the long term, because you're going to get these streams consistently. You're probably not going to get taken off these playlists. It's just so much better. And that brings us on to option three, which is outreaching to playlist owners organically. Now, this method is quite difficult as you're putting in a lot of work and sometimes may not get the results that you want, but I've created a really good script to use, and I'm going to show you how to actually reach these playlist owners. So I'm just editing this back and I realized there's a fourth reason that I forgot to mention, which is pretty obvious and I don't know why I didn't even think of this, but you can pitch directly to the playlist on Spotify yourself using Spotify for Artists. I didn't really want to touch on this too much as it is very hard to get on these playlists and pitching is quite difficult. I just think how many submissions Spotify playlist editors are getting, it must be crazy, man, and the chances of you succeeding are quite low. But obviously I'd recommend to do this anyway. Make sure you just write up a pitch on each song you release. Just try and make the pitch as engaging as possible and see how it goes. And there is a chance you may get lucky if your song is really good. But anyway, back to the video. Now, the first thing I'd think about is what playlist you actually want to reach out to. Now, for example, if you produce drum and bass music, you're going to naturally want to reach out to drum and bass playlists. Or I guess you can also find EDM playlists and electronic ones. But the best bets are going to be your genre specific and your subgenre specific playlists. To find these playlists, simply just use Spotify search and search something like drum and bass. You can play around with the titles to get better results. Maybe try drum and bass 2026 so that you know the playlists are actually going to be active. Now, to actually find which ones you want to reach out to, here's a general rule. Don't reach out to playlists with any more than 50,000 followers. There's a very high chance that they're going to be a brand that won't accept submissions, or they're going to charge you to be on the playlist, or they're going to be receiving so many submissions that they're probably not even going to see your message. Even 50k is too high, and I'll probably focus more on about the 10,000 range as a maximum and focus between the 1,000 and 10,000 follower range. That's your ideal sweet spot. Now, once you've found the right playlist that you want to reach out to, you're going to have to find their contact details. Now, some playlists aren't even going to have contact details, and that's okay because the ones without contact details probably aren't going to accept submissions anyway. But for the ones that do, there's probably about 2 ways that you can find their details. Number one is they'll have it in the bio of their playlist. This might come in the form of an Instagram handle or maybe just an email. Quite a lot of playlists will have their contact details available. Now, number two is they might be a brand or even a public figure that you can find on social media. Generally, a lot of these playlists are going to be owned by big brands though, as they're the only ones with something in it, right? For example, take a brand like UKF. You can see from their name on Spotify that they're just UKF. Now, if you search them up on Instagram or Google, you can find their email through that way. So you could email them or just simply DM them. Now, obviously you wouldn't reach out to a big brand like UKF. They're probably not going to reply to you, but that's just a quick example. You can also find people with their name. This one's a little bit harder. You have to search a little bit harder, but you might be able to find them just by searching their name on Instagram if they're just a regular person and not a brand. But anyway, now we're on to the main bit, the actual script to send these playlist owners. Now, as a playlist owner myself, I actually get so many bad messages that I don't even end up reading. And the thing is, the grammar isn't bad or the message itself isn't really too bad. And neither is the track usually. The biggest problem is that all of these messages don't stand out. Like, I've literally almost seen the exact same message 100 times. I honestly don't even know where these people are getting their scripts from, but they don't seem to be changing it at all. They all start with something like, hey, I hope you're good, I'm a big fan of your playlist, or been a big fan of your playlist for a long time, I love what you're doing. And then I'll literally go into their profiles and they don't even follow my account. And it's like, surely that's gonna be the bare minimum if you're asking me something to put your song on my playlist, that you'd be following me, right? But straight away, there's the first way that you can stand out. Follow these brands and playlist owners and literally start interacting with them. Instead of just spamming hundreds of DMs to random people, literally just try to interact with them a little bit. Start building up a network. Follow these accounts on Instagram and TikTok maybe, and just leave some comment. Do this for like a week or two at least, and try get the brands to notice you. Because trust me, as a brand with a few 100,000 followers, I still know which people are interacting with my account. I see them in the comments, I see them always liking, and I'm gonna be so much more inclined to listen to someone's song if I know that they're interacting with my account too. So that's the first tip I'd recommend, is to stand out from the crowd a little bit by networking a bit. Now, for the message I'd send when I've actually networked for a little bit, built up a reputation with the brand, well, I've actually wrote a little bit of a script, which I know contradicts my previous point where I'm saying everything looks generic. But with this script, I've left it really open-ended, and it's really important that you personalize it. This is your way to stand out and is how you're actually going to get on the playlists, because you actually want to connect to the person that you're writing to. Now, here's the script. So basically all it says is, hey, and the parts you put in yellow is where you want to change it. It's got, hey, name of brand or playlist owner. Just want to say I've been obsessed with your playlist lately. My favorite songs at the moment have been, and now I'd list 2 to 3 songs here. I think this is really important, this part, because you want to show that you're actually interacting with the playlist. It really shows that you're actually listening to it. Even if you don't, just go through the playlist and find 2 or 3 songs that you like so you can add this here. This is your first bit of personalization. It's so easy because all you have to do is just lie if you have to. In all honesty, some of the tracks in the playlist have been giving me some creative ideas of my own. I recently dropped this track, blah, 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 add your link, which has a real, now add a similar artist here that you think your song is kind of related to. I put this part here because I think it's really important. Say if you make electronic music like Fred Again, if you're messaging a playlist owner and they don't know anything about your artist, brand, or what your sound is, relating it to another artist is instantly going to be able to say, oh yeah, I can add this to my playlist because I know it's going to have this kind of sound to it. This is something I might be interested in looking at. And then the last part, we're just going to have, check it out if you have a spare minute. I think you or you guys might like it, depending if they're a brand or just a person. I think this part's also quite important. You know, it's just coming across as really easygoing. You know, you're not forcing them saying, listen to my song. You're saying, check it out if you have a spare minute. Don't take too much of your time. And then, yeah, just sign off. I think it's just a really simple and short message. And the reason it's a real short script as well is because I don't think you want to be sending a big message to people. Like, they're probably not going to look at it. I know I get so many DMs per day just to add songs to my playlist. I don't read a lot of them if they're too long. Like, I don't have time. So yeah, just keep it short and sweet. But also remember that this is just a script. It should be more of a guideline rather than just a copy-paste message. I know I keep trying to really stress it, but it's really important that you stay original and just really try to stand out from the crowd, because that's what's gonna get people actually reading it. But if you need a bit of guidance of where to start, I think the script works really well. It's short, not intrusive, and shows that you actually care and have listened to the playlist yourself. So yeah, give this a go and see how it works, but I guarantee if you do this enough, some playlist owners will give your track a listen. And if they like it, hopefully they'll add it. Don't feel disheartened if people don't reply, because it is a tough game and requires a lot of persistence. But yeah, anyway, that's it for this video. If you found it helpful, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to be posting a lot more content about music marketing and social media in the electronic music space, and really just how to build a career as an artist. If you have any questions or topics that you want me to cover in the future, please leave a comment below. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.